Now welcome to another lightning response video where this time I'm really going to try to answer some questions, a couple questions at a lightning pace because I am going to see Revenge of the Sith in a few short hours in the theater once again for the first time since 2005, so I'm super excited. But I haven't done one of these in a while, mainly because of Andor. I've been focused on that, so let's try to do a few questions, and fittingly enough, the first one will be about Revenge of the Sith, and it comes to us from a Lakers fan who asks, Hey Thor, I just left the theater for the 20th anniversary re-release of Revenge of the Sith, and I can't help but notice how much the Jedi assisted in Anakin's turn to the dark side. The Jedi Council mentioned how they felt uncomfortable with his relationship with Palpatine, yet they kept on putting him in situations where Anakin is by himself with him, thus granting the Chancellor the ability to influence Anakin. Do you see that as well? And I can see that, yet at the same time, in defense of the Jedi here a little bit, they obviously didn't know that Palpatine was a Sith Lord. They didn't know he was the one that they were looking for, even though maybe you could argue they should have. They should have seen the signs and the clues and thought, there is something really up with this guy besides someone who wants to stay in power. Nevertheless, they didn't. And again, they knew something was off about him, and they wanted someone on the inside, and for better or worse, that was Anakin. Anakin had Palpatine's trust, and vice versa. And so the Jedi figured that he is a Jedi, Anakin is a Jedi, he has been trained by Obi-Wan, and he is going to be loyal to them. He is going to take this as what it is, an assignment. He's not going to let his attachment to the Chancellor influence what needs to be done here. And that is, again, inside information, trying to discern just what is Palpatine's plan here. Is he going to relinquish power when the Clone Wars end? And unfortunately for the Jedi, again, they didn't see that this was actually the Sith Lord, and they trusted Anakin in a way that maybe they shouldn't have, or put him in a situation they maybe should not have. I am not trying to totally defend the Jedi here. I'm simply saying they figured Anakin was going to do what he must, and he ended up not doing that. Though, if they had listened to Mace Windu, because let's keep in mind he was not for this, he didn't trust the boy, he didn't think he could handle it, and he was 100% right. I do have to wonder what would have happened if they listened to Mace and didn't ask Anakin to spy on Palpatine, because that was sort of the final straw or final nail in the coffin for Anakin. That was one of the main things Palpatine used to really turn him against the Jedi, because now here the Jedi are asking you to spy on me, asking you to spy on your mentor and your father figure. What else are they hiding from you? What else are they keeping from you? And when Anakin says to Obi-Wan during their duel later on that I should have known the Jedi were plotting to take over, that we couldn't trust them, and that from my point of view, the Jedi are evil, he really believes that. And it all does stem from the fact that the Jedi asked him to do this, to spy on Palpatine. And again, it's kind of the final nail in the coffin that Palpatine uses to turn Anakin to the dark side. And yes, I realize with Padme and his mother and all that, that's the real key stuff. But it was the final blow, him not being able to trust the Jedi anymore. All right, next question is an Andor question, and it comes to us from Super Mac, who asked, Hey Thor, so Andor was going to originally be 5 seasons. Do you think that would have just been each of these arcs from this season expanded into full seasons? And do you think these arcs expanded into full seasons would have worked and been as good? And I do believe Tony Gilroy himself has kind of said that was the case, that he has now kind of condensed what he was going to do for the season and put it into 3 episodes each. So I think he's only choosing the most important or most relevant things that need to be told in order to carry the story on to, of course, eventually Rogue One. In other words, I don't think this was it. I don't think if he would have expanded this into a whole season, that it would have just been what we saw in these 3 episodes, these first 3 episodes. I think there would have been much, much more to it. But he just took the most important part of it, the most interesting and most notable part of what he had in mind for this whole season, and he showed us that. Not that, again, these 3 episodes would have been expanded out further and it would have been nothing more than these kind of 4 storylines that we saw, because, I mean, honestly, what would have the Dedra and Cyril thing really amounted to? It works extremely well for the first arc to see them do this, but if that had been the whole season, like we just keep seeing dinner parties at Dedra's, I don't think that would have been as appreciated as just the one was. And so again, I think he just took the most interesting or most relevant or most needed parts of the season and put them into an arc instead of trying to encapsulate the entire original plan. Because I really don't think if you take these 3 episodes and try to expand it into a full season, especially considering a lot of people thought these 3 episodes were already pretty slow. I don't necessarily agree. I can see how you feel that way, but I thought they were pretty fantastic. But certainly if you try to expand just these 3 episodes into a season, it is not going to be very good. All right, moving right along, we have a question now from R2 Detour, I love the name, who asked, Hey Thor, Rogue One was based on a throwaway line in the episode 4 opening crawl. Do you think Gilroy could pull off a theatrical The Bothans of Mon's Many Bothans Died line in your favorite Return of the Jedi? You know, if there were a perfect sequel, series, or movie to Andor and Rogue One, it just might be the story of the Bothans from Return of the Jedi's famous Mon Mothma line. I don't think that'll ever happen. I'm pretty sure Tony Gilroy is done with Star Wars. He said before he felt like this is his most important work he's ever done in his career, but it's time to move on and do other things. Plus, he's like 70 years old, so he's not exactly, I think, ready to devote even more of his time to Star Wars at this point. Anyway, I honestly think that would be awesome, even though I'm kind of ready to just move away from this general time period, from the Galactic Civil War time period, and do other things, other places. But that would be cool. I would certainly take something like that. All right, and one more question here, and it comes to us from Darth Rage, who asked, Hey Thor, have you watched Star Wars SC-38 reimagined by Fixin' It in Post, or Clone Wars Battle of the Heroes by Hello There? And I have absolutely seen both, and they are both pretty incredible, especially, and to take nothing away from the other, but especially the Clone Wars Battle of the Heroes. That was amazing. That looked pretty much like an episode of the Clone Wars. It is probably the coolest fan project I've seen. I don't want to say that definitively because I've seen a lot of cool fan projects over the years, and I don't want to take anything away from anybody else who's done some amazing work. I've been meaning to talk more about fan projects and that sort of thing because, as I keep saying, I'm trying to do or get back to doing my like what if stories or just stories in general. I am working on right now. I've been working on it for a while. It kind of keeps growing. It started off with an idea of what would the Jedi do in certain situations. It kind of became its own little story. And then I kind of branched off into a bigger story, a three-part story where the first part is called Way of a Jedi, and then the second part is called Way of a Sith, and then the third part is kind of the Way of the Force. Essentially, I haven't named that one yet, but I'm working on this really big project. I've been working on it for a while. I'm almost ready to kind of put the finishing touches on the first episode of it, and if it wasn't for Andor going on right now, that probably would have already happened. But like I said at the top, Andor is eating all my time, and I'm happy it is. It's been fantastic so far. 3 episodes in, we're doing good, and we got 9 more to go. But yeah, I would love to talk more about fan projects. I want to do more fan projects myself. Like I said, the one I'm working on, I hope to have the first part up sometime soon. Maybe after Andor, or maybe if I can find some time, I can get it done before Andor wraps up. All right, well, that is all I've got for you this time. Now it is your turn. Take to the comments below. Tell me what you think about anything or everything I had to say here, or ask a question for a future lightning response video. Again, I haven't really been able to keep up with all the questions I've been getting. My apologies. Blame Andor, but I will try to do at least one of these a week or so. And if you want to leave a question, you just start your comment off with Hey Thor. You ask it. I try to answer it. Whatever the case may be, though, leave those comments below. Let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.